Hi, this is TapCat. Today I'd like to talk about an article that went up on VentureBeat a few days ago. It's part of a series called The Dean Beat by Dean Takahashi. And in it, he explains why he quit playing XCOM 2 because, he found the game more difficult than he wanted to deal with. One thing I want to make very clear right out of the gate is that nothing I'm about to say should in any way be taken as some sort of personal attack on Mr. Takahashi himself. I'm not going to make fun of him or, anything like that. I thought he made some interesting points. There's a couple things he said I disagree with, and I want to talk about that. And I also would like to share some advice for people who find themselves in a similar situation. But even though this is the internet, and I realize most people would probably just start some sort of stupid flame war, that is, in fact, not what I am interested in doing. So let's get into this. What does he have to say? Well, he begins by talking about how he has already spent dozens of hours playing XCOM 2, and that he's giving up because it's just too hard, and he's in far enough to the game. He feels like the only way he could make progress now is if he just started over from scratch. And that is a danger with a game like XCOM 2, because it isn't just the tactical combat that you have to do, because there you can always just try a different approach on that map, right? But the reality is a significant part of your power comes from your decisions that are made when you're building up your base. And when you do things and how you do things there can have long-term effects. So if you don't know the right way to go, it can really hurt you. That's legit. And I think it's one of the things that when you play a game like this, you either have to know going in that this is a risk and you're just kind of doing a learning game. That's what I did for the test game that I played before starting a Let's Play on the series. But another approach is you can go out and look for advice online in advance, right? Now, not every player wants to do that. Some people want to discover the game for themselves. I would just say, be aware. You could find yourself in a position similar to the author of this column, right? That you go down kind of a blind alley and getting out of it, it may not be impossible, but it could be very, very difficult. The next piece that I want to cover, and this is where I highlighted the text because I think this is a really important section, is he points out that he started playing the game on normal and he took it down to rookie in order to keep going. And that this raises a question about the wisdom behind the game industry's spiraling quest to make games more engaging by making them harder to play for a smaller group of hardcore gamers. If a game is too hard, a lot of more casual gamers like me are just going to give up. I'm here to testify that it is possible to make a game too difficult. And he goes on, he cites a few examples like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Necropolis. Now, there are several facets to this, so let me just say one area that I think he's really got wrong out of this, just factually, is to say that the game industry is on a quest to make games more difficult. Two of his three examples for this trend come from the same developer, From Software. And I would certainly acknowledge that From makes some very challenging games. I think Firaxis makes some very challenging games. We've had some indies come out. I believe Darkest Dungeon is also very difficult, although I haven't played it myself. But if we look at the list of top-selling Steam games for 2015, you don't really see overwhelming difficulty here for the most part. Grand Theft Auto 5 and Fallout 4 are at the top of the list. Has anyone ever accused those games of being very difficult? Yeah, absolutely. You also have games like Counter-Strike and Dark Souls 2 on here. Not that Dark Souls 2 only just came out this year, but, whatever. It sold a bunch of copies. But I think when you go through this list, what you actually see is a lot of balance, and you see different types of games, cities, skylines. That's a great success story. And I think personally, it's great that there's some diversity in that group, right? I don't want everything to be zombie survival horror. I don't want everything to be just pick up a controller and mash buttons. But I'm glad that there are some really hard games for people who want them. And I'm glad that there are button mashers for people who want those. So anyway, I think there's a lot of other games, like, it's not on here, but, you've got Far Cry and Assassin's Creed, and I can't even begin to name all the franchises that are of moderate difficulty at the most. So that's really, I think of all the points he made, that's the one that I thought, wow, that's just not true. And I don't know if he had a chance to reflect on it, if he would restate that or not. I certainly don't speak for him. But okay, so that aside, now let's go on and look at the rest of what he said. The point that if a game is too hard, a lot of more casual gamers, they're just going to give up. And that it's possible to make a game too difficult. Okay, so the first half of that, absolutely. If a game's too hard, casual gamers are going to give up. But I could just as easily say, if you make games too easy, then someone like me is going to quit playing because I'm going to be bored, right? So what? It's up to me to research a game I'm interested in and buy the ones that are going to appeal to me on any number of levels. As far as what's the game about? What does it look like if graphics are your thing? How hard is it? Is it hard in a way that's interesting to you? These are all things, you can't have perfect information before you buy a game. But my point is, developers should make games that they want to make, that they're interested in making. And as a consumer, you should buy games that you want to play. Okay, and the type of games you want to play, and leave the rest alone. And then you know what? The marketplace is going to sort all the rest out. And if somebody goes too far on making a game hard, it won't sell. But I will tell you this, that's not XCOM 2 and it's not Dark Souls, because they sell. I mean, this isn't, a new series, XCOM. This game has been grinding people up and, making a mockery of their plans for a very long time in different incarnations. And so, while it's absolutely true that it's not for everyone, it's for a big enough slice of the market that these publishers are willing to keep making sequels to it. And personally, I have no problem with the fact that these games are not for everyone, but they serve a particular market. And then you have games, whether it's relatively easy games on PC like Assassin's Creed or something like that, or if you want to take it to the extreme and go to the mobile market where you have things like Candy Crush and stuff, they all sell to different audiences, and I have no problem with any of it. I buy the things that I enjoy, and it doesn't hurt my life in the slightest that things I don't enjoy exist. But other people do enjoy them, and that's great. I'm glad that they're there for them. One other point from this section that I'd like to address briefly is that he points out that while critics gave the game an 88 out of 100 on Metacritic, users only rated it 6.9. And he doesn't say it explicitly, but it seems to be an implication that that is because other people were also frustrated with the difficulty level. I would just caution against making a presumption like that. I think it's fair to say that maybe the average Metacritic user didn't enjoy it as much as the critics did. But unless you're going to read every review and look at why they rated it down, because a lot of them may have loved the game but gotten frustrated with the bugs, for example, the reality is we don't know why they rated it what they did. So I don't think it either bolsters his argument or hinders it. It's really an irrelevant point, and we don't know the answer to why those people did that. Now, for the rest of this video, I'm not going to show screenshots because I don't want to literally just take this entire column that he wrote and put it on the screen. I will have a link in the description. I encourage you to read it for yourself. I'm not trying to, pick and choose or paraphrase to my own benefit. I just don't want to essentially plagiarize his article, okay? So, but let's talk a little bit more about it. A little later in the article, he talks about ambushes. And apparently he was frustrated because at most, only the first soldier is going to be able to throw a grenade when you're coming out of concealment. And that, yes, you can put them on Overwatch, but that's not as good as grenades. Well, I struggle with this point because I don't know what his expectations were. Other than a grenadier, all of your other soldiers only get one grenade for the entire mission. So when your opponents are standing out in the open, using all of your grenades up at the very beginning of the mission, honestly, that's just not a good idea to begin with. That's not a flaw in the design. I would argue it's a flaw in your tactics. I actually don't think I've ever opened an ambush with a grenade, and I don't think I would want to. Maybe I'm the one who doesn't get it there. But realistically, grenades should be saved for breaking down cover and instances where you need guaranteed damage. And the beginning of an ambush is pretty much never one of those times, or I'll say seldom. All right, so in terms of going through the article point by point, I'm not going to go much farther because it really isn't my intent to just sit here and pick at it and try to make him look bad or anything like that. I want to talk about the things that I think are worth talking about from there or offering a different perspective. And then that's about it. So I think the last main thing that I want to cover is he also repeatedly mentions how difficult it is because you're constantly outnumbered, and he mentions 4 soldiers again and again and again. And I think this is a good example of where, you're not looking deep enough into the game when you do that. So you have a squad size of 4 and you clearly recognize it's a problem. So ask yourself if there's a way to fix that. Because available right from, the beginning of the game, basically, you can build the guerrilla training school and increase your squad size to 5 and then 6. So it doesn't take a ton of time in game and it doesn't take a ton of money, but you have to take the initiative to make that happen. And I guess this goes to a broader point, which is that if you're playing a game like XCOM, and the same is true of Dark Souls or, anything difficult like that, when you find yourself struggling really badly this way, you should ask yourself, what can you be doing different? You need to take a step back from it because clearly whatever it is you're doing at that point in time, it's not working, right? And, it's funny. One of the reasons I feel like I can talk about this even, and I think why this article resonated with me, is that I reached this point in Dark Souls. I was very honest when I started my Dark Souls Let's Play that part of my motivation in doing it is because I had tried playing the game earlier and I quit because I got too frustrated with it. When I hit these things that frustrated me, I kept trying to do the same thing that I was doing and failing at, just trying to do it a little better, instead of stepping back from it and trying to find a completely different approach, or going online and looking to see how other people did it. There are so many resources that exist out there. It's not like you even have to sit through a Let's Play. Like if you're having trouble with a boss in Dark Souls, let me tell you something. All you got to do is go on YouTube and type in that boss's name and strategy or tips or whatever. And there's like 15 channels minimum that have uploaded videos just for that thing. And so XCOM's the same way. If you want to know how you should be building up your base or how to increase your squad size or anything, again, I'm not saying this to put down a user who got frustrated. I'm saying this as advice, not just to him, but anyone. Like, if you find yourself where you feel like your back is against the wall that way, you need to try and figure it out, or quit. Of course, that's always an option, but you need to try and take a step back and say, is there another way to get at this? And if you can't find that way, then try to find someone who did figure it out and learn from them, because otherwise your only option is to quit. And if you're okay with that, if you've reached a frustration level where that's the only thing that's going to work for you, then I would say that is what you should do. This is a game and it should be fun. It shouldn't be torture. Where I feel bad for the author of this article is I think when you read the whole thing, it's very clear that he's kind of embarrassed that he played XCOM 2 and felt like it was too hard for him. And he doesn't feel good about quitting, And so I feel badly for him that he found himself in that spot like I did in Dark Souls. I can relate to it. And so what I tried to do when I played Dark Souls the second time is not fall into that trap. And that's my advice to you. And so I think as much as anything, that was my motivation. I thought it was a very interesting article. And I think I've made the point enough times by now that in no way am I trying to rag on him or anything. I have no animosity towards him whatsoever. Whether he'll ever watch this video or not, I don't know, and it doesn't really matter. But hopefully for you, it will be somewhat interesting and somewhat helpful. And so I think I will leave it at that. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. I hope we see you next time.